Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's our favorite time of the week because you know what the deal is. We're taking a look at the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves. So let's check them out. All right, first thing this week, if you watched our behind the scenes video on how we do exclusives here at the Knife Center, we posted that earlier this week. You will have seen this knife already, but not everyone has seen that video, so I wanted to take a chance to show this knife again, the Kershaw Mini Skyline KnifeCenter exclusive. This is something we're really proud of. We're really happy to have been able to make happen in partnership with Kershaw. Now, sadly, the full-sized US-made Skyline has been discontinued for quite a bit at this point, and it's not really coming back, unfortunately. So, what's the next best thing? Well, we worked with Kershaw to bring you the imported Kershaw Mini Skyline. Sized down just a little bit. We've got like a 2.8-inch blade here. Basically, the idea was, let's make something that can go toe-to-toe with something like the Civivi Elementum, and for an even better price, $45 for these knives here, whether you go with the stone-washed finish, which is better for hiding your scratches longer term, or the black-washed finish, which also looks pretty dang cool. But you got D2 steel here, great tool steel at this price point for very good edge retention. Hollow ground, like I said, 2.8-inch drop point, so it comes in under that 3-inch mark. G10 handle scales, and maintains the single liner construction of the original Skyline. And because of that, weight is able to be kept to a minimum. We're at 1.8 or 1.9 ounces by my scale anyway. It might be calibrated a little off from Kershaw's, but that's Bugout type of weight. This is a super light knife, but you still have the strength and the nicer feel of the G10 rather than an injection molded material. Now the size itself works really well, fits in the hand quite nicely. You still have that nice aggressive finger groove there behind the flipper tab to keep your fingers safe from sliding forward. But through the process of making this knife, we tried to address a couple of the complaints that used to be leveled at the original Skyline, first of which being the carry method. Older versions had a tip-down carry with just a standard folded pocket clip. Well, we were able to get Kershaw to use the clip from the Kershaw Natrix, right? Yeah, the Natrix models here. So we've got tip-up carry in a folded-over deep carry style configuration, even though you do have a little bit sticking up here. So that's going to be a nice thing. More people, I should say, tend to prefer to carry their knives this way nowadays. We also made sure that it was reversible. You've got threaded inserts in the G10 here on the other side for carry on either side. And then secondly, the improvement we wanted to make was the flipping action. The originals of these had just standard, I think might have been nylon washers. I'm trying to remember exactly, but the flipping action on it usually required a little bit of wrist action, and it doesn't kind of stand up to most of the other flippers nowadays. So what did we ask for? KVT ball bearings in the pivot here with a nicely tuned detent, and as such, flipping action is perfect. What more could you want? It's great. They turned out really nice. It is a perfect answer for just whenever you need a basic pocket knife, whether for you or a gift. This would make a great gift item. 45 bucks, like I said, for either finish option, and they turned out fantastic. But if 1.9 or 1.8 ounces is too heavy for you, 3 new mini Bugouts from Benchmade launched today. And these are all, I believe these are all limited edition colors coming out. We have 3 of them. The Mesa Red, which is a little bit darker than the standard orange version, which is available now, but it's pretty similar, although you have black hardware, black thumb studs and barrel spacers instead of the orange on that version. We've also got Alpine Glow and Seafoam, both of those with a coated blade. It turned out pretty darn cool, actually. If you're looking to expand the mini Bugout options, here are some cool colors to do it. And the weight of these, like I said, if 1.8 ounces is too much for you, how about 1.5 with these knives right here? Apart from that, it's kind of got the same, Bugout recipe. Thin, slicey blade with a high flat grind. We're about 2.8 inches here as well, just like the Mini Skyline. Although if you look at actual edge length, you get a little more with the Skyline. But you do have S30V with the Mini Bugout, so you get your particle metal there instead. We also have a reversible deep carry pocket clip, which works on either side quite well. And then of course, the locking mechanism, being the axis lock, is completely ambidextrous as well. The crossbar mechanism, pushes this bar of steel up against the tang of the blade and is easy to access from either side. It's easy to flick, open and closed, or of course you can be much more deliberate if you prefer. Just another great, small, everyday pocket knife. Ultra light, and a couple more colors to boot if you didn't like the original versions available. Speaking of colors, and don't worry, we'll get to some more plain colored knives here in a minute, but as one who handles a lot of black handled knives every single day, I do like seeing some color options. Don't worry, there's still a black handled option available for this knife as well. But this is a limited edition Spyderco Paramilitary 2 with teal G10 handles and S90V blade steel. 164 bucks, 164.50 I should say, which is, considering you're getting the S90V here, which is a significant upgrade in edge retention over the S45VN on the standard versions. It's also less expensive than the S45VN standard versions. Those start at about $185 and some change. So what did I say this was? $164.50. So it's like $21 cheaper. And yet you have the greater blade steel, or the more edge retention, I should say. That's pretty cool. And for a lot of folks, you like to change out the handle scales on your Paramilitary 2 anyway. If the teal G10 is not your thing, that's always an option. You may already have some laying around if you're a Spyder collector. You could also writ dye these black if you wanted to, and probably still spend less on the materials to do that than if you got the original black version. So that's pretty cool. That's more of a thing. We've seen this happen with a few of our exclusives in the past. They were contracted a couple years ago, so the price was locked in then. Prices, of course, have been going up since then, but Spyderco, of course, is honoring the original price with the distributor that they managed this knife with. So get some savings passed on to you, which is pretty cool. Anyway, it's a Paramilitary 2, so what does that mean? You've got a full-sized handle with the compression lock. Works very easily, doing wrist flick stuff. Like the axis lock we just looked at, it's finger safe as well. Your fingers never cross the path of the blade when you're closing it. It's also nice and strong, which is good. You've got a 4-position pocket clip, which means you can carry it whichever way you like. You've got that blade, which is 3.4 inches long from tip to scale, but some of that is taken up by the finger choil here, which means you can choke up for some finer work when you need to do it. The blade has a nice acute tip, a little thicker on the spine as you get back, but you have a full flat grind. I'd say like the Paramilitary 2 has always been good at having a sturdy enough blade while still slicing great. And you still have that here with this version as well, now with even more edge retention. There's something sort of amusing about a knife like the Paramilitary. Is real aggressive name, and it's the teal handles.
Come see the softer side of knives.
Come see the softer side of knives. Boy, I'm here for it, let me tell you though. Next up, we have a new knife from the Steelcraft series from Begg Knives. This is the JVO Diamici. A couple different versions of this. They start at about $120 for the D2 versions, or for not much more, $128, you can get this VG10 core Damascus blade option, which is pretty cool. This is a Jared Van Otterloo design in collaboration with Begg Knives. You got a 3-inch blade, slight drop point going on, high flat grind, not too thick, so it's a perfect everyday carry blade shape. Slices well with versatility in mind with the profile itself. The handles are stainless steel with G10 inlays. This one has black and green, but black and black is also an option with both of the 2 blade steels. And with the stainless steel on the handle, you've got a little bit more feel of kind of rigidity, a little bit more feel of substance than a lighter weight material. For good and for ill. Some people are gonna like that, some people are gonna like the lighter stuff, but options are always good, eh? Folded pocket clip here with a ball bearing insert for the pinch point, which is quite nice. We're dealing with an inset liner lock, feels nice and premium, and ball bearings in the pivot for a nice flipping action. It's a nice clean design. I think this is gonna make a very great everyday carry knife, especially if you like something that feels like it could push a little farther than its 3-inch blade might otherwise make you think. Next up, we have some Squid Industries Krake Raken V3 Ballies. live blade here. $285 for these with AEBL steel. Pretty cool stuff. The blade itself is 4.5 inches. It is AEBL steel, one of my favorites. And the finish on it is quite nice. It's black, but it's like a see-through shiny black at the same time. What is it? It's a DLC. Brain fart right there. But it's done in such a way that it's kind of that DLC that looks like it's gun blued almost. Color slightly different, but you get my meaning, I hope. You get that shimmer from the steel coming through the coating, which is always really cool. The handles are blue anodized aluminum. They are single piece for each handle. Be careful there. I just looked really awkward doing that, didn't I?
You usually do.
And you're gonna leave that in, even if I say let's do another shot, won't we? Fine. Channel milled aluminum there, single piece for each one. They help contribute, I should say, to the nice solid feel of this while flipping. I mean, it is silky smooth. See, I'm not the best bally flipper to begin with, and I always have to do it real carefully because if I mess up, it's getting dropped on many hundreds of dollars of other knives right underneath. So I have to be extra careful when I do this sort of thing. If you know the Squid Industries kind of feel, you'll know what you're getting here. Super solid, super fluid feeling, and just ready to move with you as you engage in your tricks and your flips and that sort of thing. If you're wanting to EDC this, you don't have a pocket clip or a latch, so keep that in mind. If you're using this as an actual utility knife, most bally carriers aren't, but there's reasons you could, because there are some advantages to a balisong construction. It'd be cool to see more EDC-focused valleys in the future, especially as kind of laws loosen up around this country a little bit. But this is a really cool knife. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's kind of how I just described it there a second ago. So there you go. Now, if you like that blade profile, but a Ballie's not for you, how about an OTF Auto? Kind of shockingly similar here. This is not a Squid Industries knife. This is a Heretic Cleric II OTF. This fancier version of the knife here comes with a MagnaCut blade, 4¼ inches long. We've got aluminum handles with carbon fiber inlay on the back and a carbon fiber cap, essentially, on the other side, which is pretty cool. This knife comes in about $650 right now. The hardware, we've got a blue anodized switch here on the front and a blue anodized milled pocket clip on the back side. It looks like, yeah, this should be reversible, so that's cool. And we have the ball bearing there on the back for a little glass puncturing or a glass breaking point. Ball bearing in the pocket clip too. As for the action, sweet. It is very, very nice actually. And you've got that big aggressive blade in MagnaCut steel, everyone's favorite nowadays, because in addition to being stainless, it is also highly tough and holds an edge really well. That's what I meant to say. So really, really well-balanced performance from a stainless steel. Think of it something like toughness and edge retention similar to Crewware, but it's also stainless. It's a pretty neat party trick. Next up, we have a mid-tech, or not a mid-tech, let me correct myself, a production version of the ADV Ronin button lock flipper. These are made by Wright knives for ADV, and they're coming in at about $465 right now, and they are really sweet. Having handled some of the non-Wright made versions of this knife in the past, I can say they've pretty much nailed the feel. The action might not be identical, but it's very, very similar, and there's nothing at all wrong with this button lock action. It is absolutely fluid, absolutely excellent. The blade is just over 4 inches long. We've got M390 steel here in this case. What would you call that blade shape? That's a...
Clip-toe.
See, this is one of those things that, on paper, yeah, it's a Tonto, absolutely. In fact, it may be a little even closer to a traditional Tonto rather than a Western or American Tonto, but that, no matter. In use, this may behave a little bit more like a drop point, or technically a straight clip point when you actually go to use the blade, because the transition point here between the heel and the tip is very subtle, and in fact will probably disappear after a few sharpenings if you sharpen through it. You could, of course, maintain the two planes if you desire. But really cool blade shape. The handles are titanium. We've got black shred carbon fibers. That's more shreddy than marbled, I would say, on the front and back there. Titanium backspacer, titanium pocket clip, milled really nicely. No visible screws from the outside. That's a neat thing too. Helps keep things a little cleaner looking. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of other details going on with this knife for you to look at. Action, like I said, you've got this square or rectangular button lock action there on the side, or rectangular button lock button. They know what I mean, right?
Maybe.
Press it down. You can do the flick really nicely. Of course, you've got the standard flipper going on. You've got, instead of a blade hole, that is the one kind of main difference between this and some of the other versions that have been out there before. You just have a depression, essentially. That will work quite nicely as a thumb stud, and I haven't tried to reverse flick it yet. Let's try it here for the first time. It might be a little tricky. Let's see. Yeah, the angle's a little off, I'd say. You've got this little tab in the way. It doesn't quite work. You could, if you get it started with the pinch there, you can definitely kind of flick it, but then you're really just wristing it anyway, but whatever. It's a really cool knife. It's a lot less expensive than the more higher end versions, even though it's still not a cheap knife. But you can check it out right now. Keeping the overseas production black handled carbon fiber and black motif going. There we go. That's a transition, I guess. We have the Hoback Tusk, and these are made by Bestech for Jake Hoback. $285 for these guys. You've got a 154 cm blade, just over 3 inches long. Really aggressive looking profile. I like the kind of beaked thing going on here. It says Tusk, which of course, there's like these right here. But this to me looks more like a bird of prey. You've got the eye sockets and stuff here. The transition here looks like a beak. And of course, this is a bird's beak style blade. Some people call it that rather than a hawk bill. Hawk bill, come on.
That's a bird.
That's a bird's beak. Anyway, Thomas is no fun today. It's fine. As for the feel, it's good. If you have larger hands, even mine that are slightly larger than average, it's a little bit tight for me. I do feel myself kind of like just touching the back of that edge right there. You do have the plunge line sitting just forward of that, so it's not a super sharp point right there, but I feel it. And I'd say this is probably better if you have average sized hands or smaller. My opinion anyway. Your mileage may vary. But all the edges are chamfered to keep any hot spots at bay. The inlays are nice and thin to keep those out of the way. There's also a satin version. Is it satin? No, it's a stone-washed version with micarta handles and a trainer, which you can check out. And the sheath is right here. It is Kydex, comes with a J-hook style of clip right there. Perfect for carrying inside the waistband, and it is set up for proper reverse grip, or inverted grip, I should say, on right side carry, which is going to be the way most people ought to carry this, I'd say. There you go. Check that out. Next up, we have a K-bar. It's not just any K-bar, though. This is, in fact, made by Spartan in collaboration with K-bar, and it is a MagnaCut K-bar. They are finally in several different versions that we have in stock right now, at least at the time we're filming this. I don't know how quickly these are going to go, so hopefully by the time you're seeing this, we might still have some. Hopefully for you guys. For us, it's good if we sell them all really quickly, but anyway, I'm with you guys.
And they're gone.
And they're gone. These start at $335. Those come with a standard leather sheath, black, but the same style as the traditional K-bar USMC Fighter, or the Mark II, if you want to call it that, which is accurate in other ways. You can also get it with a Kydex sheath for $385. There's a black and a coyote option, at least for this blade color. A couple other blade colors you could have as well. Before we get to the rest of the knife, let's talk about the sheath, shall we? Here it is. It is Kydex. You've got a drop rig, also made out of Kydex, screwed to the back. Comes with 2 straps with pull-the-dot snaps for belt carry. Pull-the-dot snap will only come loose if you pull it in the right direction. It has a little tab to prevent it from unlocking in any other direction. So already you've got less chance of it coming loose accidentally. And in case you wanted more, you've got 2 in this case. So 2 things would have to fail for this knife to be removed from your belt, or at least for the snaps to come loose. I suppose you could break the Kydex in other ways, but that's always a thing too. Works really nicely. I haven't checked yet to see if it'll fit tech locks if you want to carry it differently, but I imagine it probably would. Let's see what we got going on here. Interesting. Yes, okay, there we go. There is a tech lock compatible spacing here, and let's check out the small tech lock that I also keep over here. If you'd rather use that, yeah, we do have some of that as well available to you. So that's pretty cool. As for the knife itself, rubberized handles for extra grip rather than the stacked leather handles, which is kind of cool because MagnaCut, of course, is an exceptionally stainless steel, so it can withstand greater kind of weather than the carbon steel of the standard USMC fighter. Likewise, the handle material here can also withstand greater degrees of the elements, shall we say. And then MagnaCut, like I mentioned earlier, great edge retention and great toughness along with that stainless capability. The coating here is not gonna change. It's not here for stainless purposes, let's say that. It's just here to keep the reflections a little more minimal. Now, as a nod to folks who might use this knife beyond just its intended like combat or tactical roles, military roles with its 7-inch blade here, we have the slightly more subtle finger guard here. It's more subtle on the back, but more protection there on the front side. Keeps you from sliding forward, but it allows you to choke up on the back of the blade with your thumb to manipulate it in some more discreet or more precise ways without that guard getting in the way. Super awesome package. I'm so glad they're finally here. It's super awesome.
Y'all been waiting for that one.
Yeah, you guys have definitely been asking for it. And I've never had an answer. It's like, I don't know when we're getting ours. As soon as Spartan sends them to us. Well, now they're here, so that's awesome.
And gone.
And they're gone. Well, I don't know. Check the link in the description. All right, next up, 2 new LT Wright knives, and these are part of the Wild Harvest collection from them, which are done in partnership with Les Stroud, the Survivor Man, which to me, this is such a cool partnership because the old school Survivor Man, TV show, along with books I read like Gary Paulson's Hatchet back in the day. Those are the things that got me really interested in like survival and that whole genre of things, like practical survival, not the like super macho over the top stuff. That's never been what I gravitated to. So to have a guy like Les Stroud hook up with a guy like LT Wright, who is a good friend of mine at this point and has definitely played a part in my kind of transition into a professional knife career. Like he was a part back from when I was a writer, helped me launch my Nordsmith Knives sub-brand, or brand I should say, and still have a great relationship with him today. So this matchup just makes me so happy. We have 2 knives from the collection in stock right now, again while we're filming this. The first is the Wild Harvest Field Knife. It is a 6-inch A2 tool steel blade, so plenty tough, straight clip point, full flat grind, plenty versatile enough too. It's kind of, actually I didn't even think about this when I put them side by side. It's almost like a slightly more nimble, slightly more versatile version of something like the K-Bar knife, oriented more towards specifically outdoor use, so that's pretty cool. As for the markings, you see we've got the Les Stroud signature on the back, and we've got the Wild Harvest logo here on the front, which if you're unfamiliar with that series, Les and a professional chef are going out and creating gourmet dishes from foraged ingredients, which is also really cool. The handles are brown burlap. They feel great. All LT Wright knives are finished by hand, so you're not getting any hot spots on these things. Nice lifetime warranty on these too, which if the marine grade epoxy and dual bolts here happen to fail on you, they'll fix you up, no problem. It feels really good, man. There's a kind of a nimbleness to this too. It's a little bit handle heavy, but not too bad. The sheath it comes with, in typical LT Wright fashion as well, comes from JRE Industries. It's brown leather. You've got a fire steel loop on the side and a dangler here on the top, which means you can carry it below a heavy coat or below a hip pack from a backpack, or if you'd rather carry it higher on your belt, you can just slide it down and go through the standard loop right there. Always a cool system. Next up, we have the Wild Harvest foraging tool, which is impressive looking. $420 for this, $335 for the field knife right there. There is more steel to contend with in here on this knife, and the sheath is a little more complex as well. The blade here is 6 inches long. It's a spear point. It's also A2 tool steel, and you'll note the pattern kind of looks like a trowel, and there's a reason for that. They actually developed this, or in the development of this, it kind of started out as inspired by a traditional Japanese hori hori, which is kind of their garden spade, which literally translates to dig dig, which I always enjoy that fact. It just makes me smile. You've got a saber height flat grind here for a decent, actually because of the height of this, it's pretty decent for slicing needs there. It's not going to be too thick for general purpose, but the tip is all about digging, foraging, breaking through roots perhaps. You've got single edge, but a significant swedge at the back to keep the tip nice and narrow, to keep it easier to pierce the earth. And then of course you've got a little extra height behind it for a little extra weight. You can push off of it with your thumb right here. You can push off from the back. You may, speaking of back, you may be able to get a little bit of light chopping out of this because of that extra height on the blade here, but I wouldn't say it doesn't feel like that's what it's gonna be best at, I would say. But I haven't tested it in person yet, so who knows? Likewise, like the feel knife, the feel is really good in the hand. Something I didn't mention on both of these knives, we do have a typical LT Wright crisp spine, which means you can strike a fire steel with it. All in all, just a great option for outdoor use, no matter what LT Wright knife you get. But if you're looking for a kind of beefier digging tool, or even like a one-tool option survival knife, this could be a nice option for you. All right, now let's have another crossbar locking knife. We have the Real Steel Muninn, coming in just over $100 right now. We've got a 3.6-inch VG10 blade, spear point profile. Some similarities actually to the Wild Harvest knife we just looked at. Saber height flat grind and a significant swedge. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this as a digging tool, but this could pierce other things rather than the earth quite nicely because of that nice thin tip. The handle on this one is micarta. There's also some G10 options, a couple different blade finishes here, but I like this micarta version. We got a pretty much full micarta backspacer on this version too, which is interesting. Now the handle is pretty symmetrical. The only kind of difference in feel from side to side is where the pocket clip is. So that's going to be your kind of indexing criteria right there, or your indexing feel when you're holding this knife. Just be careful because there's no finger guard either. So you want to make sure you're cutting the right way. If you go to choke back on this and put your thumb on the edge, that's not going to be a fun time. But for a slimmer everyday carry, it's going to work pretty well. You've got the crossbar lock right there, which works quite well. We've seen Real Steel come out with a few crossbar locking knives this year, and they've all worked quite nicely. It is ambidextrous. The clip is also ambidextrous with its tail-mounted deep carry nature, which is always nice. It's kind of my favorite style of clip. I just enjoy that very much. Yeah, just very good EDC. For reasons I mentioned earlier, for the way it holds, lack of the finger guard there, I wouldn't really qualify this as a tactical knife, or wouldn't recommend it as a tactical knife, even though the blade shape would suggest it would do well there. I think the handle's a little too slim, or a little too streamlined for that, which is why I think this would be a better EDC knife than a tactical carry. All right, rounding things out, we started the video out with some pretty affordable stuff, and I'd like to end it the same way. New brand here at the Knife Center, we're happy to have them on board finally, is Petrified Fish. And in terms of value, these guys are insane. Like the stuff, the amount you're getting for the money here is absolutely astonishing. We're all familiar with like the $50 D2 flipper coming out of China these days. It's kind of what this mini Skyline is meant to go toe-to-toe with. A lot of those things are about this size, maybe a little bit bigger. This knife right here is the Beluga. It is a 3.6-inch blade, very broad, with K110 steel, which is D2, but it's name brand stuff. It comes from Bowler, not some unnamed factory from who knows where. And you've got micarta handles, contoured, not just flat slabs. You've got a deep carry clip, which is reversible, buried in the micarta itself with a blockout plate on the other side. Extra pieces, extra milling time versus just screwing it into the outside. You've got ball bearings, if I hadn't mentioned that before. And the price on this knife is $48.99 for us right now. I'm trying not to be hyperbolic here, but it's hard because that is a stunning amount of knife for the money. It really, really is. How good is it? Well, let's get beyond the spec sheet and talk about the feel in the hand. It is a full-sized handle, little bit wider, a little bit thicker with the contouring there, means it holds pretty nicely. This is a heavy working knife. The blade with its full flat grind and drop point profile here, not super thick, not super thin either. Good balance, I would say, for strength and slicing, kind of like the Paramilitary II we talked about earlier. It's just so good. Plenty of different handle colors and blade finishes. There's also a Tonto option if you'd rather have this kind of chisel-y front end. And it's a pretty striking Tonto too. I don't usually see the bottom, the heel section drop at such a more aggressive angle compared to the rest of it. Like, it's wider here out near the front than it is at the back. That's pretty cool. Same great feel in the hand as far as the action. It is a front flipper, and y'all know I'm not the best, but even I can get that one pretty well. And if not, you can use the fuller there for reverse flicking. $48.99. Like, it's blowing stuff like Civivi out of the water. As good as Civivis are, and they're still good. The value here is great.
Gauntlet Throne.
Even more than that, this knife, the Bunta, is only slightly smaller, 3.35 inch blade, but about the same amount of edge as the Beluga here. G10 for this handle, deep carry pocket clip, similar construction to the Beluga right there. It's reversible. You don't have the blockout plate on the other side, but you got G10, you got ball bearings, you've got D2 in this case. I don't think this one is K110. Yep, so that's part of why this one is cheaper. $32.99, a $33 knife. And it's got all those same ingredients, except for K110. But it's still got D2. Flipping action is great. The feel is phenomenal. There is not a single thing I could find wrong with this knife. And at that price, that is astonishing for what you got here. Nice, aggressive modified sheep's foot style blade, I would say. High flat grind, nice and stout, but still should slice okay. The only thing, I have one complaint. One tiny complaint. I can't get this one to reverse flick on. Oh. I got it to move that time, Thomas.
That time.
See, now I can't get it again. I'm not sure why, it's the angle or something. I can't get this one to reverse flick really well, but the standard flick works great, and the thumb open works just fine too. $33, man. Insane. And one more, even bigger, even more complex actually, and only $30. This is the Pub liner lock. 3.75 inch D2 blade, high flat grind, swedge here at the back. I don't even know if you could technically call that a swedge if it's not going up closer to the tip. I'm not sure. But stonewash finish on this one. Two-tone G10 handles. You've got sculpted black G10 and coyote brown inlays on each side. Deep carry clip screwed from the outside and non-reversible in this case. That's the only bummer there. But liner lock, ball bearings, big blade, nice flipping blade, versatile shape, girthy handle, $29.99. Where do we go from here?
To the outro.
I guess. They're phenomenal. And these are just 3 models. We have, how many did Adam say he had it over there? Like 140 different products, 140 different SKUs that
He was talking about it for a while.
You can check them out at the brand page linked below in the description. Stunning. Well done, Petrified Fish. Anyway, that's all we've got to show you for today. Thanks for sticking around. To get your hands on any of these knives, check out the links in the description, of course. And don't forget our Knife Rewards program, which gets you up to 5% back in rewards on your purchases if you cash in at the highest amount. That's a pretty good deal. But that's all for today. I am David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera, and we're signing off. See you next time.